All right, y'all. Welcome to the stream here. I thought I'd do something a little different tonight too. I would like to, as you know, I disagree with the doctrine that the white man is Esau, and it's very important we know that because the real Esau will be implementing the mark of the beast. So I figured that my notes and that to prove my point across is kind of lacking. I think they need updating. So if I'm ever debating somebody, I can have all that I need. So I just think it's way past time for me to start updating my notes. And I thought I'll react to one of my subscribers. His name is to Light Unto the Gentiles 7. I believe that's his channel. His channel's name, and I put his link in the chat here so you guys can check him out, look him up, and make sure you subscribe to that brother. I thought I would check out some of his videos to help me add to my notes here, and like I can show you what I'm working with now. I actually had a subscriber of mine. I thought it was a good idea. Like he said that why don't I just start off with the strongest verse I got that's proven that Japheth is the Europeans, right? And this is what I have right here. I think there ain't no verse stronger than the one when it says talks about Japheth's judgment, in War Scroll chapter 1, 3 through 10. And it says the sons of Levi, the sons of Judah, the sons of Benjamin. It goes on, and it talks about Japheth and him rising up to fight Yah in the end times, and so I got some stuff right here just to make it short here. Like I got the basics of his genealogy and everything, and of course the second big thing I want to do is talk about Esau, and which I believe it's the as you know they're actually wearing the mark of the beast, right? Because you have the original Greek. You can look it up yourselves, guys. The original Greek written in the New Testament, as John was writing out the 666 in Greek. The 666 in Greek looks exactly like in the name of Allah in Arabic. And so you can tell that what Yah is saying right there is that that's a huge clue to who Esau is. So enough of me talking. I want to get into reacting to this video because I think some people teach it better than I could, and there's still a lot of stuff I'm willing to learn. So I think I'm going to try to react to our brother Light Unto the Gentiles 7 here, and see if I can tweak my my notes and see if I can learn anything. So all right, and we shall get started now. Let me go to let's see. That's not it, is it? Light Unto the, okay. All right, here we are. So we have Light Unto the Gentiles here, and let's see if I'm going to check out some of the channel here, and please y'all subscribe. Hey WWE fan 21. So this guy is explaining Esau, And I think he does a better job than I do at explaining it. Let's see. There you are. Put you right up there, bro. Okay, let's see. Let's check out some of these videos here. How about this one? I think I've seen this one before. I think it's... He says some Westerners... Let me pause that right quick. Try to shrink this video down a bit so y'all can see the whole screen. Okay. Display Caucasian. Yeah, display Caucasian Esau. But with further fact checking, these statues fail. Oh yeah, WWE fan 21. You might want to check. His name is subscribed. I mean, his name is Light Unto the Gentiles 7, and he has a lot of good information about explaining who Esau is, and you know, and proving that the Europeans are Japheth. So be sure to check his channel out if you ever have the time too. But I've seen some of his stuff, and he's got a lot of great stuff on here. So we have 1 Maccabees 3:40, and laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. Right. All right. Thank you, WWE fan 21. So when using Greek, Roman art and sources, okay, you must always fact check by using other sources, not just one. Okay. For example, I use Arab, Moorish, and Bible sources. Okay. To back up the fact that the barbarian tribes were white. I didn't trust Roman status without other proof, because the heathen were said to change art to match them. White Christ, okay. Mary as a white woman, okay. White Hagar. Yeah, because that don't make no sense, because you know you have the Egyptians who come from Ham, right? And you got Abraham who and the Hamites, the Egyptians, they were dark skinned, right? And then you got Moses. No, not Moses. It was Abraham that went and married. An Egyptian woman, Hagar, and that's when they had Ishmael. That's how you get the Arabs right there. And so that means the original Arabs were black. Indeed, they were indeed black. So the original Arabs. But I had somebody tell me that Ishmael was. Well, somebody actually told me that the Irish were the real Israelites, and that Ishmael was white. And I'm like, what the? He said Abraham was white, Ishmael was white. I'm like, what are you talking about? Okay, the original. See right here. It says black Edomite right here. So the Edomites were black too, right? So it says right here was Herod Antipas, Teriach of Galilee, a gross and swarthy creature with flat nostrils and with, of course, black Edomite hair and a heavily dyed beard, dressed in seven curls. His wife Herodias and her daughter Salome bulk large in the drama through their hatred of John the Baptist, whom the terror is pictured as fearing because he thought he was reincarnated spirit of one of the innocents slaughtered by the father of Herod the Great. So, but the point is, right here it says black Edomites. So, I mean, that's amazing how he found this information right here. So it's right there saying that the Edomites were black, right? That's why we have, some black Saudi Arabians, some black Arabs. Not all Arabs are Esau, but a lot of them are, right? Not all, and it goes vice versa the other way around too. It gets a little confusing. So you got white Arabs that mix with the Greeks and create. It was the Alexander the Great that mixed with the black Arabs and the black Esau and created Saudi Arabians, and just lighten up everybody in that area. So there you go. But I need to quit getting sidetracked. So, anyway, point is we got him saying that he got information proving says black Edomite right here. And I'm definitely going to use it. I'm debating somebody right now, and I don't think he got the message. I'm gonna have to send him this image again right here. So that's very amazing right there. So there's that. Herod Antipas was a black man. Okay. And then here's a picture. Artapolus the black Edomite. See, okay, and let's go back here. What's a good video he got on here that I can go into? Unmasking the Edomites, part 4. Okay, what's a good video I can click on that seems interesting? See right here, he says the French come from Japheth. Let's check that out. From defending the who fent their colonies afterwards into the north and Wilt, from whom the Gauls or foam of the Gauls descended, so for they were the various sorts. That is the group of Celts or Gauls then established in their first European settlement on the European mountains, the present Carpathians, before entering on the last migration towards France of our days. Race of Japhet. So he's talking about Gomer and all that. There go Gomer right there. Magog, Madi, the Medes sprung from Madi, Messiah, Terrace, Tubal, Javan. Javan is the Greeks right there, and it goes into D. Javan he gave to Greece, Iona, Italy, Spain. So I did not know that Spain came from Javan, which are the Greeks, huh? I didn't know that. Amazing. Okay. He knows his stuff. Let's see maybe we get a long video right quick. French. Oh, you did? Let's see. Unmasking the Edomites. Oh, here's a good one. Yeah, that's what I was telling this dude I'm debating on Facebook right now. We're going back and forth, debating each other, commenting to each other. It's what I told the dude. Russians are not something. And the the USR are Slavs and Finno and Turco-Tatars, Japhetic people, Jews, Germans, and Mongols, all with different racial instincts, habits, thought, religion, and concepts of government. Russia encompasses territory greater than the North American continent, north of the Panama Canal. It covers all. What's that say right there? All from the Arctic to the tropical. Sorry, it's just the words are kind of smudged, but you get the idea. Magog, the father of it says Magog, the father of the Maphagates, on the side of the north of the great Aliyah, from the whom came the Scythians. I heard that word, Scythians. I believe they said that's what the Ashkenazi Jews are, the Scythians, like basically Russians. That's what I heard, Gog and Magog, but I'm still learning. So, okay, or near Mount Kakon, as in Hebrew, Gagonian, and from there came the European Scythians and the Goths. Interesting. Second son of Japheth was Magog, the father of the Magites. Flavius Josephus said that the Greeks called these people Scythians. The Scythians included all the wandering tribes who dwelt mostly near the north of the Black Caspian Sea. They were regarded by the ancients as tremendously lacking in intelligence and civilization. Whoa. It says Colossians 3:11, where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond nor free, but Christ is all and all. That's the anti-racist Bible verse right there. Mm-hmm. He knows his stuff. Okay, let's see here. Unmasking the Edomites. I'm gonna try this one right quick, and it's part 14. But they provided. I'm gonna check this out.
Hello, everyone, Bible believers around the world. We're back with another episode in the Unmasking the Edomites series. Now we're going to be jumping in right away with another news source. We're going to be diving into chapter 18 of the book of Josephus, because in chapter 18 of the book of Josephus, he talks about the appearance of Jacob and Esau. And it is a complete contradiction of the One West Camp doctrine of the two fraternal twins of two completely different races, as One West teaches it. I'm also going to bring up something very interesting that a subscriber of the channel commented recently, because it's another hole in One West Camp doctrine. And it's very interesting, and it's something that I've absolutely never thought of before. So we're going to be talking about that comment as well. But let's get into the book of Josephus right away. Now, before we get started with the book of Josephus, for those who don't know, Josephus was a Bible scholar who lived around the same time period as Paul the Apostle. So his writings are very old. Now let's get started. Now when the supper was got ready, he took a goat skin and put it about his arm, that being Jacob, that by reason of its hairy roughness he might by his father be believed to be Esau, for they being twins and in all else things alike, differed only in this thing. Okay, so Josephus, the Bible scholar, was under the belief
that's a good one. I gotta use that
the difference
one.
between Jacob and Esau was the hairiness of Esau, not that they were two completely different so-called races, like the One West camps teach. You know, because the One West camps would be like, Jacob was a black man, and Esau was a red, blushing white man. You know, but right here we're seeing that Josephus is not subscribing to the idea. He is saying that the difference, they were twins, and the difference was Esau's hairiness. Now, we know how the One West camps, they like to say that the reason why Jacob wasn't mentioned is because, Jacob looked like everybody else, and Esau was, he was a sunburnt white man. But one thing that I've thought recently, well, I've thought this for a while, is that saying that Jacob didn't look like Esau because he wasn't mentioned, you could also say that the reason why he wasn't mentioned is because he looked like Esau. Obviously, we know Jacob was not hairy like Esau, but these were both black men. These are both men of color. These are both, Negro men. So we could reverse that and say the reason that Jacob wasn't mentioned is because he was a black man as well. Because if Jacob was something strange like green, probably would have been mentioned. And another thing that I really want to add on to this is how in the book of Enoch, we know that Noah was white-skinned, fair-skinned, and his family was surprised because, at that time we didn't have, that was pre-Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and, all of the diversity and, genetic mutations and stuff that would happen of different cultures being isolated and cultures growing and all that type of stuff. Basically, that was before we really had diversity. And they were shocked by that. So the fact that everybody was so chill when, Esau was born, is kind of a key that Esau was not a different so-called race, because if Isaac had a Chinese son, he would be pretty confused, because he would be like, who's this? If he had a Caucasian son, he would be very confused, like, who's this? So the fact that there was no confusion, there was no shock, is kind of an indicator that
right there,
nothing different was going on. He was not an
Asian,
Asian,
only
he was not
in this
a white
thing.
man. Esau was a black man.
Hairy, one was hairy, one
now,
was
one
not.
thing that I would like to mention is a commenter on the channel. He's a subscriber to the channel too. I believe his name is Japheth, the Righteous Gentile. He brought up something very interesting in a comment, and he said that what he said was, if Esau was a white man, Jacob would not be able to fool Isaac into thinking that he was Esau, because keep in mind, the scripture says, that Isaac's vision was failing, so we couldn't see that well. That's why Jacob put the goat skin on him to feel, so that Isaac would feel the hairiness and that Isaac would think he was Esau. But if Esau was a white man, their voices would sound completely different, and Jacob would not be able to fool Isaac because they would sound so different. And I'm actually going to put some different voices in this video, in this lesson. And I have a voice of a white man talking, and then I have a voice of a black man talking. And we're really going to see that, shout out to Japheth, the Righteous Gentile, that is something that I've never thought about, but it's actually very true, that Jacob's plan to get the blessing from Isaac would have never worked if Esau was a white man, because white people's voices sound nothing like black people's voices. We have very loud and deep voices, and white people have more higher, different tuned, more cartoony like voices. That's all I can think of, like Lightning McQueen, Mickey Mouse. we don't sound the same. So Jacob would have never been able to pull that off, and that's something that I never thought of. But shout out, that's really crazy.
I felt like if I could be a driver in the truck series that was able to make a living and win a race.
This thing together. We're all sambling with new partners. We all got a new flow. We got a new lanes working with.
Okay, we're now getting into another source. This is the ladder of Jacob. Now I have to give a shout out to sons and daughters of the covenant of Yah, because they are super good folks, and they've been sharing a lot of these sources that they have with me, because this series would have been done a long time ago, but they have really opened up and shared a lot of their sources with me, and that has really revived this series. They were the ones who originally showed me the sources about the Esau-Phoenician connection, and really provided the proof to prove what I've been hearing some Israelites say for a while now, which is, I touched on it in the last episode, that some Israelites have believed that some of Esau's seed has made its way into the so-called black community of America. But I didn't have any proof of that, so I was, not a part of that group, because the scripture lets us know clearly that, where Esau's secret places are. It makes it clear that he has descendants in Arabia, Teman and Dedan and Basra, but I never heard nothing about him making it to the Americas. But with that source now, we have some evidence for that idea. So that's something very interesting. And shout out to them. Thank you very much. And this is another source that they provided. So this is super cool. Now, let's get into this. I'm also going to get into the Dead Sea Scrolls. I'm going to try not to go deep into the Dead Sea Scrolls because I really want to save them for the Japhet series. The Japhet series has been on hold for quite some time. But I really want to open it up for the Japhet series. But I'm going to touch on the Dead Sea Scrolls because it really answers
Since he mentioned the Dead Sea Scrolls, I'm going to show you my favorite verses.
Japheth's role.
I'm going to type my favorite verses that's talking about the sons of Japheth up in the Dead Sea Scrolls, which proves that the white man is Japheth, not Esau. And these are my favorite verses to pull up right here. This war scroll. And remember, y'all, Kittim. The word Kittim is it's a stand-in for Rome. Basically the sons of Japheth. So Yah is talking about white people there. So let's war scroll 1, 3 through 10. Japheth. Sons of Japheth. Put that right there. So if you ever get tired of the racism that's going on, just read those verses right there, because it doesn't always it's not always gonna be this way, y'all. So we actually have some hope here. So
in oppressing the children of Israel, I really want to look into that. So let's get into this right now. So we're gonna start down close to the bottom in this document. It says that the Most High will raise up kings from the grandsons of your brother Esau, and they will receive all the nobles of the tribes of the earth who will have maltreated your seed, and they will be delivered into his hands and will be vexed by them. Okay, here's the part that I really want you guys to see.
okay.
Let's read it again. Sons and daughters are coming out, we'll do the rewind sound effect. I like how he does that. The Most High will raise up kings from your grandsons of your brother Esau, and they will receive all the nobles of the tribes of the earth who will have maltreated your seed. Okay, so he says the tribes of the earth who will have maltreated your seed. He didn't say that Esau was going to be the one that is in America, with the whip, and the Jim Crow water fountain policies and all that type of stuff. He says that the nations, the tribes, will be the ones who will have maltreated your seed. And Esau is benefiting from this. Now, I've been thinking in my head a lot recently on kind of Sons and Daughters of the Covenant of Yah had a series which originally got his channel taken down called Esau's Like the White Man for Dummies. And that's kind of really a big fact, a big, you know, what's the word? A big wake-up call that this doctrine is phony, because you can call white people the devil, you can call them monkeys, you know, tail, furry, whatever you want, red devil, and YouTube will never take your stuff down. As a matter of fact, they'll pay you to say all that type of stuff. But Sons and Daughters of the Covenant Yah did a series, you know, debunking this with the scriptures and historical facts, and they terminated his channel. Usually where there's censorship, there's usually truth. So that's something very interesting. And yeah.
Yes, the Dead Sea Scrolls. All right.
For the instructor, the rule of the war, the first attack of the sons of light shall be undertaken against the forces of the sons of darkness, the army of Bela, the troops of Edom, Moab, the sons of Ammon, the Amalekites, the Philistines, and the troops of Kittim of Ashur. Now, one thing I'd like to point out is even in this prophecy in the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Kittim, children of Kittim that is, are still viewed as a separate nation of people from the Edomites. So there goes that doctrine of Kittim becoming one with the Edomite stuff. Continuing on, supporting them are those who have violated the covenant, the sons of Levi, the sons of Judah, and the sons of Benjamin, those exiled to the wilderness, shall fight against them. With against all their troops, when the exiles of the sons of light return from the wilderness of the peoples to camp in the wilderness of Jerusalem, then after the battle they shall go up from that place until king of Kittim shall enter into Egypt, and in his time he shall go forth with great wrath to do battle against the kings of the north. And in his anger he shall set out to destroy and eliminate the strength of Israel. All right, there you go. You got Japhet coming after Israel, not Esau. Then there shall be a time of salvation for the people of God, and a time of dominion for all men of his forces, and eternal annihilation for the forces of Bela. There shall be great panic among the sons of Japhet.
Yeah.
Now,
great panic among the sons of Japhet.
Now, take this as a grain of salt.
You hear that, WWE fan? Great panic among the sons of Jacob. So God ain't playing that racist stuff. He's not playing that racist stuff. You know, so that's something to look forward to, my friend. Excuse me. Woo. Excuse me, y'all. Woo. He may have the devil trying to mess me up by having me sneeze. We're gonna keep going anyway.
Now, the preaching part has ended here. This is just a theory. I'll tell you once I read this. There shall be great panic among the sons of Japhet. Assyria shall fall with no one to come to his aid, and the supremacy of Kittim shall cease, that the wickedness be overcome without a remnant.
He said the Kittim of the supremacy shall cease. Think about that, y'all. Kittim are the Romans, right? And he said the Kittim supremacy shall cease. It's basically, it's like God, the one they call Yah, God, Yah. Well, whichever. I'm just saying this for the people that don't know, that don't know whose God's real name is, which is Yah. And But I'm just saying it for them, the one they call God, right? Even you got him right there saying that he's going to destroy white supremacy, like right there, Kittim supremacy. Listen to it.
No survivors of all the sons of darkness.
No survivors.
Now, here's what I'm thinking about this. So, Syria recently had a government coup and was overthrown. And right here it says that Assyria shall fall with no one to come to his aid. Now, if Assyria is the same as Assyria nowadays, it says that Assyria shall fall with no one to come to his aid. Syria recently fell and nobody came to its aid. They had allies, Iran, Russia. There's videos of Russian trucks, getting on the highway, fleeing out of there. They didn't help. Iran didn't come to help. Nobody came to their aid and they fell. And it's also interesting because it's talking about the descendants of Japhet being in Assyria at the time of this fall. And at this point in history, white people have been dwelling in Syria for a long time. So Syria fell. Nobody came to help them. Like I said, Iran and Russia didn't help them. And white people are there. So that's 3 for 3. This probably might not be talking about that, but it's very similar.
Okay.
Very similar indeed. Now, I will cover more of this in the Japhet series, but this is just proof that the white man is indeed Japhet, and that it's not, it don't have to be Esau, doing all that type of stuff, because Japhet is not, obviously there's good people out of Japhet, a lot of them, but the idea that the camps are pushing that, Japhet, Japheth is our friend, and that he never did anything wrong to the Israelites, and it's all about Esau, that wicked pink Esau. That's false. I mean, we can look in the book of Maccabees. It was the sons and daughters of Japhet who polluted our temple and brought pork and false gods and burned stuff down. It was them. So that's something to really think about. This.
Okay, I'm gonna check out some more of his vids. Okay. Let's see what else he has here. Okay. As you know, it was One West. It's the One West that started that doctrine that Esau the white man, which is false. And he right here, let's check this one out right here.
Sons of Noah that went forth of the ark were Shem and Ham and Japheth. And Ham is the father of Canaan. These are the 3 sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread.
Close the book. We're not doing that. Here's what we're going to do.
Yeah, that's how they see it. Yep, for sure. Okay, yeah. Everybody. Yep, I agree. For sure. Now this seems really interesting. Talking about how the Indians are closer to white people, right? Again, y'all make sure y'all subscribe to Light Unto the Gentiles 7, y'all. He's got a lot of good information here. Let's check it out. Indians, Caucasians. The Caucasian is genetically... Hold on, let me... word this back. It says the Caucasian is genetically closer to the Indian than the Negro. Like, I didn't know that. Like, that's a lot of good information. So you got Indians. So that means the Indians wouldn't have E1B1A DNA, right? North Indian. Yep, they're going to E1B1A. This haplogroup is found predominantly among Bantu Negro. This haplogroup E1B1A, folks. Descendants to include, but not limited to, the African Limba, which are the DNA proved that the Limba tribe had that DNA in them. Many West African tribes, Igbo Jews, Yoruba Jews, African Americans, West Indians, Brazilians, Haitians, and other Negro-influenced races throughout the Caribbean and scattered across all different nations. Contrary to false DNA reporting, this is not a sub-Saharan or Hamitic haplogroup. It is Semitic in origin. Negroes have been identified as being exempt from the bloodline of Ham per the Zondervan Compact Dictionary. This haplogroup represents the Y DNA of Jacob and the father of the 12 tribes of Israel. Esau would still carry the same blood, but whites and Negroes do not. No resemblance. Exactly. We don't even look like them. They got different phenotypes and everything from us. Okay. Well, ain't nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying we just don't we don't look like each other. Gog and Magog in London.
Sculptor David Evans puts the finishing touches to two old friends of Londoners, Gog and Magog. 12 years ago, effigies of the two giants were destroyed when the city's Guildhall was blitzed. But now, exact replicas copied from models are all set to go back to town to take their place. Outside Guildhall, where Gog and Magog have made their home since the reign of Henry V, crowds welcome their return. Weighing 3/4 of a ton each and standing 9'3", they dwarf the onlookers. Although no one's sure why they should live in Guildhall at all, it's certainly like old times to have Gog and Magog in London again.
See? Gog and Magog are not... they're not Esau, fellas. They're just not true. You gotta put down that false doctrine. Ooh, now that's very interesting right there. Let's see. We're going to go for it. Here, it's talking about the Arab slave trade. That look like a black Arab right there. Let me see. Let me try to shrink this a bit. Sorry, y'all. See, I'll be blowing up because I want y'all to see it. Okay. Let's check this one out. Black enemies of the Israelites. Black enemies of the Israelites. You got Moab, Edom, Ishmael. Look at those dreads. Ishmael, Edom, image of Ishmael near Saudi Arabia. You still there, WWE fan 21? We got Canaanite, Nubian. There go Arab slave trader. Yep, I seen pictures of black Arab slave traders having black slave Israelites. I seen pictures of it. That's for sure. Now, those are the Arabs that Alexander the Great didn't mix with. So that's why we have pure black Arabs and white looking Arabs in Arabia, in Saudi Arabia. Okay. So you look at the family of, oh yeah, there was a what somebody had, I forgot his there was somebody on YouTube, he had a book of this that showed that these are black Edomites, a family of modern Edomites camping in Petra. These are black Edomites. Oh man, I like that picture. I'm definitely gonna use this picture, y'all, if y'all willing. I'm gonna for sure. I'm finna save this video. I gotta start saving these videos. What am I doing? I need to save these videos. Let me. Save. Hold up. I'm finna save this one to Hebrew Israelite playlist. Okay. Alright. That's an black Arab slave trader. Now that's interesting. Our Chinese, the Moabites. Yeah, that don't make no sense. The Chinese are not Moabites. What did China got to do with the Middle East? Absolutely nothing. Okay, let's go to what's the Edomite? Because I'm willing to learn. There's so many things that I don't even know, and I need to tweak my notes. So let me see. This one seems interesting. Was the Soviet Union an Edomite empire? People are. Oh yeah. Hey, Finwar. Welcome to the stage, Finwar. I mean, welcome to the chat, Finwar. This doctor. Khazars said they are of Japheth. Their king said they are Japheth. Let's pause that. Let's move in. Let's blow this up some more. The Khazar Kakin Joseph traced the ancestry of his people to Japheth, which is Japheth, one of the sons of Noah, from Japheth to Gomer, from Gomer to Tagarama. According to him, I said Tagarama like an anime. It's Tagarma had 10 sons. Khazar, meaning the seventh, from which is, from his people descend. They also mix with Magog, the Scythians. Magog, and those are I think those are the Ashkenazis. I think the Scythians. I heard that the Scythians, and later occupied their ancient territory in the Caucasus. Yeah, get it? Yeah, the Caucasus Mountains. There is a legend concerning Alexander of Macedonia, and that the Arabs called the wall of Gog and Magog, he supposedly cut off these barbarous tribes from the civilized world by a gigantic barrier. This was called the Iron Gates. They claim to be from Togarmah. Which is very interesting, because the Khazars were known for their horses. The Khazars were known for their horses, okay? The scripture tells us, what does it say? They of the house of Togarmah traded in the fairs with horses and horsemen mules. Khazars. It's with one of the most tolerant societies of might have all over Asia and Europe. One of the pages is about the fascinating okay. Khazars were horsemen, just like the Bible says about Togarmah. Okay, so these things are matching scripture. Even the star logo was found among Khazar artifacts. Oh, wow, that's very interesting. So, that makes sense. That's why they have the star, the Khazar. Yeah, okay. Even the hats of the Jews go back to the two Turks, not Hebrews. None of these go back to Esau. Let me see. Hold on, sorry, I gotta. Well, I think they are yeah, but I think Chinese are Japheth and white people are Japheth. I think Native Americans are Japheth too. I wasn't sure. Like I think some people said they were Ham, but now I think got some more clarity, because it makes sense with the because it says Caucasian. It's got Asian in the name. I believe that. Hamites. I kind of think that they're Japheth, but I don't know. I still got to study it some more. Which they compare to Jewish. None of the communists look like Esau. Black Edomite Karl Marx. Karl Marx. Notice the afro braids nose and lips. The USSR Edomite Empire. Was the USSR an Edomite empire? No. The USSR didn't attack black people. Everyone they hated was Caucasian. In fact, multiple blacks fled to the USSR. Now that's very interesting. Yeah, I heard some stories about some black people that actually lived in Russia and got their education and stuff up in the USSR. to mistreatment, to escape mistreatment in the USA. So if Jewish communists were easy, so if Jewish communists were easy. Okay. That was a good little nugget there, bro. Okay, let's see. But well, I think Indians are like South Asian, right? And light unto the Gentiles here, he actually showed that their DNA, that white people's DNA lines up more with the Indian, the Southeast Asians, the Indians, more than it does with us. Their blood doesn't even match ours at all. But they said they're actually more related to the Indians from India, that is, Yeah, I know you are. I just gave an example right there about they still technically what you call Asians, kind of like so. 12 tribes. You can't just pick 12 countries and say that's where the Israelites are, because Israel was scattered to the four corners of the earth and led captive into all nations. The 12 tribe chart debunked. There is no country on earth where everyone is an Israelite, because the scripture says we will be scattered among the Gentiles. For example, the idea that every Mexican is an Israelite is false, because many actually share DNA with whites and are descendants of Spaniards. See, that's what I said. I say that so many times, right? How are Mexicans and Guatemalans and Puerto Ricans and Venezuelans and Cubans, how are they Israelites when they're sons of Europeans? How are they Israelites when they're sons of when they're the product of grape up in the? I mean, those are from Spaniard white fathers right there. It makes no sense for them to be Israelite. Those are the sons of Spaniards. I mean, that's why they be joining white supremacist groups. I'm not all of them. I'm not saying all of them do it, but a lot of them do be joining white supremacist groups because they got that, that anti-black, Japheth spirit on them, right? The Negro-only doctrine makes zero sense because it's known that so okay, I'm gonna move on to the next one. I got tired of reading. Okay, I'll pause. Which video should I pick? Okay, this seems interesting. I clicked on this earlier today, so I'm pausing for you right here, bro. Tell me when you're ready, bro. This is words. This is words from an Arab man about East. Oh, I got so much. This dude's giving me so much ammunition. Oops, sorry.
Hello, everyone.
This dude's giving me so many ammunition to take on when I'm debating debating those Pharisee camps again. He giving me so many. He giving me so much information, y'all. Man, this guy. I'm glad this guy is really. Y'all, again, y'all need to subscribe to this guy here. His name is Light Unto the Gentiles. 7. His name is Light Unto the Gentiles 7. Make sure y'all subscribe to him. This is some great stuff he's got. You back yet, Finrar? You back yet, bro? You back yet, bro? Hello? You back yet, dude? Finrar, you ready? Because, I mean, I got other people watching, you know. You ready yet, Finrar? You back? You back? Man, he's taking a while for him to take out that garbage, ain't he? Taking out the trash. That's what God gonna do to white supremacy. That's what y'all gonna do to white supremacy after the 1,000 years. He gonna take out the trash. He gonna take out the trash. That boy, they gonna take out that trash, boy. Take the trash out, boy. I tell him. Dang, man, what kind of trash you got, Finrar? Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, I paused it for you. Now I'm finna start it again. Start it. Yeah, just like y'all gonna take out the trash. You gonna take out the trash Japheth after the 1,000-year reign. He gonna take out that trash, boy. He gonna take the trash out. he gonna take Japheth out. He gonna take that trash out. All right, I better stop. So we got words from, this is I paused it right here for you. It says words from an Arab man about Esau. Let me zoom that in right quick. What if y'all can read that? I hope y'all can read that. I can't tell because my way my monitor is. Can y'all read that right there? There's an Arab man talking right there. Can y'all see that comment right there? Or do I need to blow it up bigger? All right, okay. This is a Arab man talking, and he says there are many Edomites Quadamites or Edomites in the Quadam are the same in Palestine, Yemen, Jordan, and Lebanon. Dang. Wow. And there are clans of them in all Arab countries, Iraq and the Gulf. See, it's coming from the horse's mouth right there. Even this Arab man is even saying it. I'm going to read it one more time just to send it on home, y'all. This Arab man says, there are many Edomites, Quadamites, or Edomites in the Quadam are the same in Palestine, Yemen, Jordan, and Lebanon. And there are clans of them in all Arab countries, Iraq and the Gulf. Man, he be coming with the receipts. Again, y'all make sure y'all subscribe to Lights. I forgot his name again. It's Light unto the Gentiles. Okay, Light unto the Gentiles.
Okay. Hello, everyone, Bible believers around the world. So I thought I would get up early to make this video. So this is actually a translated to English comment that I received from an Arab guy.
Okay.
So I was recently talking a few months back to some Arabs online because I was curious what they think and what they were aware of, considering that they grew up in the biblical land where all this stuff went down. So I was interested if they had any knowledge about these ancient peoples in the Bible. And we started talking about the Edomites. And this is what he had to say. He said that there are clans of Edomites in all Arab countries. Alright? And one thing that was very interesting talking to these people is they portray the white man, commonly referred to in scientific terms as the Caucasian, as invader of the North. But they portray Esau as being a native to the Middle East, and they even say that he is in all of the Arab countries as clans.
Man,
very interesting.
Now that is very revealing. Smurf. Okay, let's go check out. Oops, I need to save that. I don't think I saved it. Let me save that right quick.
Hello, everyone, Bible believers around the world. So I thought I would get up early to make this video. So this is actually a
Okay. I'm asking the Elon cartoon. I'm gonna do this. Okay. I'm gonna react to 2 more videos. That's where all that shoe bag. I know. I'm gonna get some good information right here. That's why I let shoe back. I know I'm gonna get some good information here because he's an ex-Muslim and he knows a lot of stuff. He was the one that described the Kaaba stone as, lining it up with the horror of Babylon, right? Though, so. Let's go.
25 tells us Edom is from Timan to Dedan. These are biblical cities that are in Arabia.
Biblical cities that are in Arabia. Oops, sorry, y'all. I love that. Dun, 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 dun. Pop goes the weasel. Sorry, y'all, but well, actually, I'm not sorry. Esau is not the white man, and like he's saying, well, like he's saying it like I said it. He just read the Bible. It says T-Man and D-Dan. When every time Yah is obliterating Edom, he names cities that are in Saudi Arabia, not America, not Europe. He's T-Man and D-Dan.
Because Ezekiel 25 tells us Edom is from Timan to Dedan. These are biblical cities that are in Arabia.
Hello everyone, Bible believers around the world. We are finally getting started with this new Bible study series. And in this series, we're going to be covering one of the most famous and popular camp doctrines. And that doctrine is the Esau is the white man doctrine. Now this is going to be a very long series because I'm going to be covering a lot of things. I'm going to be going into the scriptures, I'm going to be going into the Hebrew, I'm going to be going into historical timelines, and I'm going to look at ancient depictions on what the Edomites looked like. And then I'm going to compare what the ancient depictions of the Edomites look like versus what the ancient depictions of the Europeans look like. And we're going to see if they're the same people. Let's get into this and start at the very beginning. Okay, we're going to start at the very beginning where these camps start, and that is in Genesis chapter 25. Now we're going to start at chapter 25, and we're going to work our way down from verse 23 to 25. And we're going to break down each one of the points that they make from these verses. Now, we see in verse 23, the Lord says that there are two nations in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. One people shall be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. Now, let's break down each point they make from this verse. Now, they say the two nations are two different races. They say that the nations represent race. Now, this is automatically false because the whole idea of race was not a thing during the time of the Bible. People were not separated based on skin color or hair texture. They were based on their nationality. Now, the confusing thing about people who use this part in this verse to say that one was white and one was black is we know that the Egyptians were a different nation than the Israelites. We know that the Cushites were a different nation than the Israelites. We know that the Moabites were a different nation than the Israelites, and they were all black. So how does nation mean one white and one black when every nation who's not Israel is not white? So how do you get that one was white based on the two nations? Now they also try to further their point in saying that they were two different races based on the two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. We're going to look into that word manner and see what it means. Is it saying that one is what we would refer to Caucasian and one is the black man of America? Is that really true? Now, going down to verse 25, this is where, they say they hit the nail on the head and it's like, confirmed and all that. They say the first one came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. So they say, see, he was red. We all know when white people stay out in the sun too long and they turn red, and they're hairy. Who's hairy? Which we're going to look into that right now. We're going to start off with the red and hairy part, and then we're going to go over and look at the two nations and the two manner of people and properly break this down. So the Hebrew word that was translated to red in Genesis chapter 25, verse 25 is admoni. Admoni is a reddish brown color, and admoni is the same word that was used to describe King David's complexion. So does that mean King David was a blushing white man as well? And a lot of people who teach this doctrine do not study the Hebrew, which if you're going to study the Bible, you must understand the Hebrew, because Moses, Jacob, and Abraham and all of the patriarchs spoke Hebrew, and they wrote
Let's read that right quick. Esau wasn't a sunburned white person. Camp doctrine exposed. The original Hebrew word that was translated to red in Genesis 25:25 is admoni, and antimony is a reddish brown color, and is the same word used for King David's skin. Huge clue, right? King David is the same color as Esau. So is King David supposed to be white, huh? Your Pharisee camps on the street screaming and hollering and cussing. Huh? Is that what you're trying to say?
the Bible in Hebrew. So there's going to be issues when you only try and use the English, because a lot, and I mean a lot of words in English do not have the same meaning today as they did back then in Hebrew. I mean, you can look it up for yourself. They change the meaning of words in the English dictionary almost yearly. You can even look back at the 1717 dictionary of English, and words will mean something different. For example, a certain word I will not mention that is spelled G-A-Y used to mean happy, but now it means homosexuality. That is a new change, and it's only been a reference to homosexuality for about maybe 5 decades. If you were to use that word in 1921, nobody would think you're talking about homosexuality. They would think you're talking about being happy. Has anyone ever seen the Flintstones? And in the theme song, they say, we'll have a gay old time. See, you can't trust English. But as you can see in the Strongest Concordance, admoni, red, H132, ruddy, H132. And these wicked camps take advantage of the different words being used, even though it's the same word. They take advantage of it because they'll say, see, David was a red white man. They'll say Esau was a red white man, and David was a light-skinned black man, just off of one saying red and one saying ruddy, even though it's all ruddy and it's the exact same word, admoni. So Esau was not white. And one thing that's actually funny is when you look into the Hebrew Bible, the word red is not even used. As you can see in the top corner and the right, it uses ruddy. Just
see, ruddy. Look at that. Red, admoni, ruddy, admoni. Red, admoni, admoni. Okay.
just like David. And we're going to use another source right here called Ancient Black Hebrews and Arabs. It's an old book. So the Ancient Black Hebrews and Arabs, page 26. It should come as no surprise that the original Hebrew word Adam, red, related to Adamah, earth. So presumably, red like earth was not a reference to a pinkish color. It would be more accurate to say reddish brown. This does not support white and ruddy, but supports dark. Exactly. Now, one thing that's going to shock a lot of people in this doctrine is that you can't find a single instance in the scriptures of white skin being referred to as red. White skin was always referred to as being white, or the Hebrew word Laban. When Miriam was turned leprous, white as snow, the word used was Laban, not ruddy red, admoni. When Moses' hand turned white, it was Laban, admoni. And also, when we look into the book of Enoch, like we discovered and talked about in the Fallen Seed series, it described him as being white as snow and red as a rose. It didn't just say red, all right? So this is something very important to understand, because all this is about the red. It's all about the red, you know. I've come across people, from the camp who follow the camps, and as somebody who sees the error in this doctrine, they'll come up to me and they'll be like, yeah, the red race. And I'll be like, Native Americans? Because Native Americans are actually ruddy. Native Americans will actually be red according to the scriptures. Red was never sunburnt white people. It was always reddish brown. But they would be referring to white people because of this Esau lie. But now that we know that red is not white, let's look at some other sources outside of the Bible that show us and tell us what the Edomites looked like and see if they are, in fact, sunburnt white people and we got it wrong. I brought this out a few days ago, but this is not going to be the only source that I'm going to use for what the Edomites looked like in the ancient depictions we have of them and their complexion. Because contrary to what the camps would lead you to believe, Esau is not as much as a mystery as they paint him out to be. There's actually quite a bit of ancient depictions and sources about what the Edomites looked like. Let's read this again. It's talking about Herod Antipas. Now we know Herod the Great was an Edomite, and Herod Antipas is the descendant of Herod the Great. And let's see what it has to say about him. It calls him a gross and swarthy creature with flat nostrils and with coarse black Edomite hair and a heavily oiled beard, dressed in 7 curls. Now we know swarthy refers to a dark complexion. Swarthy never means fair-skinned or white. It never does.
I didn't know that.
And it calls the Edomite swarthy. Herod Antipas, the swarthy Edomite. Let's continue on. Real quick, I'm going to bring out an old coin that I've brought out on this channel before because timing is very important. So Herod the Great was during the time of the Messiah, which in terms of Bible history was more of the modern era. Now Herod Antipas, one of his descendants, came after Herod the Great. Now the Greeks and Romans were conquering much of the world at this time. And during this time period, they were enslaving white people in Europe. The Romans and Greeks were. So at the time that white people are already in Europe being captured from amongst the many different European tribes that were around at the time, the Edomites are still being described as being swarthy. So that is a problem right there. That we already have white people in Europe at the exact same time that Esau is still in Arabia and is still black in complexion. Now we're going to deal with the whole thing that Esau went into Europe and kicked Japheth out.
That's a new thing I learned. Swarthy. Swarthy means black. So the Edomites were swarthy, means black. They weren't white. They were swarthy. And we saw that. The black Edomite, pug nose, got the nose. Yep, dang it. Yep.
Stuff. We'll deal with that doctrine where they twist the book of Jasher at a later time. But
Javan. Let me see. The Romans are Kittim. The Romans are Kittim, and Javan is Greek, and they descend from Japheth. They do not descend from Esau. The biblical name of the Greeks is Javan. The biblical name of Kittim is Rome. So when you look them up in the Bible verses who they descend from, they do not descend from Esau. Period.
I just wanted you guys to see that white people were already a thing while the Edomites are still black. That's important to understand. Okay, we're now going to be stopping by a source in a book called The Negro.
Let me pause that right.
Negro question. We have 2 ancient coins here, Archaeoplos the Edomite and Shalom the Edomite. I've placed a coin with the images of the descendants of the kingdom of Edom, page 137. This is what the people of Edom looked like. This is Jacob's twin. These images on these coins are undisputed among archaeologists and by the historians. I've blown up the image of Archaeoplos Edomite on page 139 as large as possible. Make no mistake about it. The lips, hair, nose, braids, this is a black Edomite, Jacob's twin. Also see the image of Shalom Herod on page 140. She has braids, big lips, and a large Negro nose. Let's move on to another source about the Edomites being black. Before I break down this image, I would just like to apologize for the poor quality of this image. This is the best copy that I was able to obtain. Now, this old painting is from the Catholic Church, the Vatican, and this is a depiction made by the Catholic Church depicting the Edomites going out hunting. You see they got all their hunting gear, their spears, but look at their hair. Look at the black fro, curly like hair. And look at their skin. It's just like what we learned from the Hebrew and from the scriptures. It's that reddish, ruddy brown. It is not blushing fair skinned.
The original Romans and Greeks are not black, friend Rar.
So now we have a Roman depiction from the Negro question, and the Edomites are black. We have that old description of Herod Antipas calling him swarthy and flat-nosed. And now we have the Catholic Church depicting the Edomites as black. All of this lines up with the scriptures. Now moving on from the red part of Esau.
Let me pause it. Yeah, but those he's coming with the sources. If you don't believe it, look up the sources yourself, bro. If you feel that way, look up the sources yourself.
Let's tackle the hairy part real quick. Now, in 2 Kings chapter 1, verse 8, we learn that Elijah, the prophet, was a hairy man. So being hairy is not a white-only feature and a way to identify somebody as being European, or in scientific terms, commonly referred to as being Caucasian.
Okay, I'm gonna go to episode 2 now. Wait, did I? Hold on, I forgot. Did I save this video? Let me see. Okay, we're going to number 2. All around the mulberry bush, the monkey chased the weasel. Let's check it out.
Because Ezekiel 25 tells us Edom is from
I'm looking at these are black Edomites right there. It says it right. A family of modern Edomites camping in Petra. It says a family of modern Edomites camping in Petra. Look at that. Look at that. Right there. They're not white. They're not white. Those Pharisee camps lying. You're going to end up putting in the name of Allah in your body if you're not careful.
Teman to Dedan. These are biblical cities that are in Arabia.
Alrighty, we're back with episode.
Let me hear that again.
That are in.
Let me pause this right quick. Freaking Pharisee camps lying, trying to get our people to take the mark of the beast. Well, they're not trying to, but they ignorantly leading our people to take the mark of the beast. If you thinking the white man Esau, how you gonna see the mark of the beast coming?
Because Ezekiel 25 tells us Edom is from Teman to Dedan. These are biblical cities that are in Arabia.
Alrighty, we're back with episode.
Say it again.
Episode 2.
25 tells us Edom is from Teman to Dedan. These are biblical cities that are in Arabia.
Alrighty, we're back with episode 2.
Timan and Dedan is in Arabia, not Europe, not America. Every time Yah's obliterating Edom, every time he's destroying, say I'm going to wipe Esau out, I'm going to destroy Edom, he's naming cities that are in Arabia. Not one time does he name one city in America nor Europe. Common sense. People get basic reading comprehension. Basic reading comprehension.
In this Bible study series. Now, in episode 1, we already covered the red and hairiness of Esau. I also threw in a little nugget in episode 1.
Well, which one you mean, the Ezekiel one? I did find it and I tried to answer them, but they wouldn't let me talk. See, I came back and tried to debate them again, and they started attacking me personally. They wouldn't let me get a word in. They were saying I'm married to a white. They started accusing me of being married to a white woman and saying all this other stuff. So I just said, forget it. I ain't studying with y'all no more. Then they had the nerve to wanted me to come on there and debate them again. Oh, I don't trust y'all. I ain't doing it no more. But all they did was just bash me and trash. I tried to get on there and tell them what my answer was, and they wouldn't let me do it. They wouldn't let me do it. I discovered that up in that verse it was talking. It said, I believe the heathen was the white man, and what was the other guy? What did he call them? The heathen was the white man, and Idumea was the Muslim, it was the East Saudi Arabia, the Muslims, because not all of them, because Esau did marry Canaanite women. I discovered that Esau married Canaanite women, and he also married Ishmael's daughter, which are the Arabs, and he took his wives and went into Mount Seir. I was going to read that to them. I was going to read it to them. I came back wanting to do that, but they all jumped on me. I was about to get started, but one of them jumped in and said, "Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Why are you trying to defend? You trying to defend white people? You got you a white wife?" They just started attacking me personally, and then they were acting crazy when they said, "How come we had a debate last night?" I don't trust y'all no more. No. They just assuming things. I ain't married to no white woman, daggone. And then no offense to the white people out there. I'm not married to white people though. I'm not married to no white woman. So they just assuming things. Like when they you see how they changed the subject. I wanted to talk about the Bible, but they just started accusing me of being married to a white woman and saying I'm trying to defend white people and all this other stuff. Okay, you got jokes. Okay, we're moving on now.
Get to later on in the series about the simple fact that white people were already a thing in Europe during the same time period that Esau and his descendants are black people in Arabia. Like I said, we'll deal with that later on in this series and uncover some of the huge holes in this doctrine just based on timing alone. But right now, we're going to cover the two manners of people and the two nations. And we're going to start off with verse 23 in Genesis chapter 25. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. All right, we're going to start off with the 2 nations. Now, I covered this a little bit in episode 1, but the concept of race was not a thing during the Bible time period. People were not designated based on hair texture or skin color. It was based on what nation you came from. And just like I mentioned in episode 1, the Egyptians were a separate nation from Israel, but they were black. The Cushites were a separate nation from Israel, but they were black. The Moabites were a separate nation from Israel, but they were black. So the 2 nations is telling us that these 2 sons are going to create 2 different nations. And we know this to be the case because Jacob later on became the founder of the 12 tribes of Israel, and Esau later became the Edomites. So that's two nations right there. But here's the big part. They used the manner of people to say, see, there were two different races. But let's look into the biblical context and the meaning of the word manner to see, is this telling us that they're two different races, or is it telling us something else? Okay, first off, I'm going to start off with the Oxford English Dictionary and the word manner. Now, I'm not going to stay in the English dictionary like these camps do, because the Bible was written in Hebrew. So we're going to look at biblical sources after this, but I wanted to start here. We're going to find out once and for all, is manner referring to two races of people, or is it referring to something else? Let's take a look at some examples in English of the word manner. Number one, a way in which a thing is done or happens. Interesting. Two, a person's outward bearing or behaving towards others. Let's hold on that one, okay? So we know that Jacob was righteous and Esau was wicked. Esau did not want to follow the Most High and follow his precepts and continue in the Hebrew ways. Jacob did. So is that the two manner that it's talking about? Esau being wicked, Jacob being humble? Let's move on. And one spoke, saying after this manner,
Okay,
and
pause that and adjust this right quick. Put that right up under there. Okay.
one saying after that manner. So these people were coming from completely different perspectives on what they thought should be done. And it says after this manner and after that manner. Two different ways of doing things. It has nothing to do with race. Genesis chapter 25, verse 27.
Two different ways of doing things. Nothing to do with race. Well, he came with the receipts there.
And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning.
Okay, let me put that up. – 27.
Hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. Now this is where they say, see, Esau was a hunter. We all know the white man hunts, and Jacob was dwelling in tents. This is why white people like going outside and camping. It's because it's that Esau. Esau liked hunting and being outside, but Jacob liked living in the house. But there's a problem with this, and we're going to take a look at it. So based on what they're teaching, the white man is the only one who hunts. So that means he must be Esau. But before Esau even came into existence, Nimrod was called by the Most High himself a mighty hunter. Nimrod was a black man from Ham. He was an African man. And he was called.
That's a good way to put it. Nimrod was called a hunter, and he was black. Nimrod ain't white. He from the seed of Ham. He from Ham's descendants, and he was called a hunter. Yeah, black of the black.
Hunter. We also see the Israelites going hunting. The Israelites have to hunt for food as well. And when it comes to the outdoor activities and that being Esau, like see, they like camping. We see the Israelites camping multiple times in the scriptures. And we're going to look at that too. So we know that Nimrod was a hunter and Esau was called a cunning hunter. All right. Nimrod was a mighty hunter. So we have a dark-skinned black man who is a hunter. And in terms of the outdoor activities of white people liking to swim and liking hunting and camping, the Israelites did all those things as well. So are we Esau because we hunt, we swim, we camp? And one thing I'd like to point out there is that a lot of this doctrine comes from what white people do in America. But when you look at Europe, where white people come from, hunting is very rare. I think I was looking at one of the European nations, it might have been Poland, and only 10% of the population was registered hunters. Camping is not really a thing because it's always wet and gloomy. So if you're saying, oh, the white man loves to hunt, you're talking about your one neighbor in South Carolina, and then you're saying, oh, the white man's Esau, when the vast majority of white people don't even hunt. So for you to make hunting a white people thing, that's not logical. It's just simply not logical. And we're going to find out how silly it is when we dig into the scriptures. Okay, we're now at the book of Leviticus, specifically Leviticus chapter 17, verse 13. This is a reference in the scriptures to Israelites going hunting. And whatsoever a man there be of the children of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn among you, strangers, not Israelites, that's right, people of other nations could come and live among the Israelites, we'll have to talk about that some other time, which hunteth, one more time, let's go, which hunteth and catcheth any beast or fowl that may be eaten, he shall even pour out the blood thereof and cover it with dust. Pour out the blood. Foul, not foe, my bad, foul. So right here, it's in the law and Israel's protocol on what to do when you catch an animal. Now, if hunting is for Esau, then why is it written in the book of Leviticus, one of the books of the law, on how Israelites and people living among the Israelites are supposed to proceed in a righteous manner when they go hunting and catch an animal, that they must pour out the blood first and cover it with dust. So that's a problem. And before I go into the part about Moses and the Israelites camping, this is a huge contradiction for this doctrine, because on the one hand, they say that white people love living in huge houses and skyscrapers because it reminds them of living in the caves in Mount Seir. But on the other hand, they say white people don't want to be inside and they constantly want to be outside in the woods because Esau liked being outside. So which one is it? Do they like being inside hotels and skyscrapers because it reminds them of the Mount Seir caves, like they say? Or do they want to be outside? That's a contradiction, and it's very weird. So we'll deal with the Mount Seir and the Caucasus Mountains and all that later on in this series. But I just wanted to point out that contradiction. Alrighty, now we're at Exodus 18:5. This is Moses, one of the patriarchs, camping. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, came with his sons and his wife unto Moses in the wilderness. You know, camping in the wilderness camping, where he encamped at the Mount of God. So Moses was camping in the wilderness, but yet you're saying that camping is an Esau thing, which makes the white man Esau because white people camp. So that's toast. So let's just move on now. Okay, now we're going to talk about Esau's wives. We've covered the red and hairiness. We've covered the two nations, the two manners, the hunting, and the camping. Now we're getting into the part where Esau was now a man and went to go marry women. Now Esau had multiple wives. He married 2 Canaanites who are Hamites, Africans, and 1 Ishmaelite. Now they say that the Canaanites were white, which we're going to disprove that very shortly. But once again, that's another contradiction and a slippery slope for this doctrine, just like the wanting to be at white people wanting to be outside thing because of Esau being a cunning hunter. And then they contradict themselves by talking about white people always want to be inside because of the skyscrapers and the big houses remind them of the caves. So the Israelites actually married the Canaanites multiple times, and multiple of those Canaanites are in the lineage of the Messiah. All right? So if you're saying that Esau became white because he married white Canaanites, then wouldn't the Israelites be white too? Because we also married Canaanite women. So that's a big issue right there. So the Canaanites were white when Esau went to marry them, but then they quickly grew their melanin back and were black by the time the Israelites went to marry them. So that's something that doesn't make any sense. And also, Ishmael. We know Ishmael was a man of color, And also, Ishmael is a Hebrew. He's a descendant of Eber and a descendant of Abraham. So the Edomites would be a mixture of African and Hebrew, because Ishmael was a Hebrew, descendant of Abraham the Hebrew, and Abraham was a descendant of Eber. And one thing that these camps won't tell you is that Esau himself was a Hebrew. The Edomites are a Shemitic Hebrew nation, because not only do they come from Shem, but they're also descendants of Abraham the Hebrew, and we know Abraham came from Eber. So they say that here's another contradiction, number 3. So they say there's no such thing as white Hebrews, but yet they're saying Esau's the white man. So that means, according to them, the whole white race white people are Hebrews, according to them. So white people are Shemitic Hebrews, according to them. But let's look at this. So this is what his wives would have looked like. They would have looked like her, and it would have looked like her. And we know that they were not white, because just like we saw in episode 1, by the time the Messiah showed up on the scene, the Edomites were dark-skinned with afros. So based on your doctrine, and for your doctrine to work, the Edomites would have had to turn white and then turn black before Christ came, so they would be black by the time the Messiah showed up. So you're saying that they turn white and then turn back black for the New Testament, and then turn back white again, and that's how we have white people today. So no, the Canaanites are not white. Esau did not marry white women. And we're going to look at where they say that, because they take it, which is another contradiction in this doctrine. I think that's number 4. So they say that white skin is red, when we already proved in episode 1 that the Bible never describes white skin as being red. It's always Laban or Laban, white. You know, Miriam, when she was cursed with leprosy, she turned white as snow. And the word used there was not red, white as snow, Laban. So they contradict themselves with that. But one thing that they twist and say is they take a verse where it says that there was leprosy in the house of the Canaanites, and they say, see, they were white like Miriam, but they don't even believe white skin is white. They believe it's red. So what are they saying? But let's not get all confused here. Let's keep moving on and making progress. Okay, now we're going to be dealing with this whole white leprous Canaanites doctrine. We're going to be in the book of Leviticus, and we're going to be starting at verse 34 and reading our way down. When ye come into the land of Canaan, which I give to you for possession, and I put the plague of leprosy in a house of the land of your possession. See, they say, this is how they say it. They say, oh, well, we know that the house of Israel is referring to a people. So this means the Canaanites are white, because it says a house, but it literally means a house. Let's continue on. 35. And he that owneth the house shall come out and tell the priest, saying, it seemeth to me there is as it were a plague in the house. See, it's literally the homeowner coming out of the house and telling the priest that there's a plague in the house. He didn't say, oh, it's my sister, oh, it's my daughter, it's my son, it's my wife. He said, a plague in the house. 36. Then the priest shall come and command that they empty the house before the priests go into it, to see the plague, that all that is in the house be not made unclean. And afterward the priest shall go in to see the house. 37. And he shall look on the plague, and behold, if the plague be in the walls, this is not talking about Canaanites turning white. It's talking about mold on the walls, the plague on the walls. This is this mold, and we're going to look at some pictures very shortly. Behold, if the plague be in the walls of the house, with hollow streaks, greenish or reddish, which in sight are lower than the wall, the priest shall go out of the house to the door of the house and shut up the house 7 days. So the house is quarantined, foreclosed. This has nothing to do with Africans turning white. It's mold. Let's look at it.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hold up. Oh, crud. Oh, that's 3.
Because Ezekiel 25 tells us Edom is from Teman to Dedan. These are biblical cities.
I think I already saw this one, but I guess I'll go ahead and watch it again. I'll go ahead and watch it again just to send it on home.
Because Ezekiel 25 tells us Edom is from Teman to Dedan. These are biblical.
Let me hold up. T-Man and D-Dan. It didn't say Los Angeles to didn't say Los Angeles to Tupelo, Mississippi, or it doesn't say from New York City to LA. It says from Teman to Dedan. These are cities that are inside Saudi Arabia.
Cities that are in Arabia.
Hello, everyone, Bible believers around the world, and we're back with episode 3 in this Bible study series. In this episode, we're going to be covering the whole Mount Seir, Caucasus Mountains, cave dweller part of this Esau's the white man doctrine. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a nugget about what's to come in episode 4. In episode 4, we'll be covering the blessing that Isaac gave Esau about by thy sword thou shalt live, because these one West camps twist that and say, see, that proves it's the white man because all the fighting and the war. But one thing that most people may not know, which is very interesting, is that the book of Joshua actually talks about that the children of Japheth would war and battle against each other. And when you look at modern conflicts like World War I and World War II, those were mostly white-on-white conflicts. You had the Soviet Union fighting Germany, you had Britain fighting Italy, you had France getting beat up by Germany. Those were white conflicts for the most part. Of course, you had some battles that took place in Hamitic lands and later Shemitic lands pushing into the Middle East. But it's very interesting to look at World War II and World War I and link that up with what the book of Joshua says about the children of Japheth, that they would fight each other. It's very interesting, but we'll cover that later in this series. We're going to start off with Genesis chapter 36 because we are now at the part where Esau is a grown man and he's going to take his family up to his new land, which is Mount Seir, the land of Edom. Verse 6, and Esau took his wives and his sons and his daughters and all the persons of his house and his cattle and all his beasts and all his substance, which he had got in the land of Canaan, and went into the country from the face of his brother Jacob. Verse 7, for the riches were more than that they might dwell together, and the land wherein they were strangers, and could not bear them because of their cattle. Verse 8, thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. Okay, so Mount Seir is a possession to Esau, and his children, the Edomites, live in the land of Edom and Mount Seir. Now, there's a lot of lies that's talked about Mount Seir. Now, a lot of these One West camps, what they do is they try and make Mount Seir not a real place. And what I mean by that is they try and make Mount Seir the same thing that Mystery Babylon is, where it's a spiritual term. It's not really a real place. It's happening somewhere else. So some say that Mount Seir and the land of Edom is America, and they go to Obadiah to prove that, which we'll go to Obadiah. One West uses Obadiah as one of their, biggest bunkers, to defend this horrible doctrine. And then the others say the Caucasus Mountains. Now, the Caucasus Mountains is probably the most common I've ever heard, and we're going to learn some shocking things about the Caucasus Mountains. And I learned some things on this study about the Caucasus Mountains because, being around people, who have dealt with the camps, always hear, they'll be shouting at white people and stuff like, go back to the Caucasus Mountains, because they think that's Mount Seir and they think there's some type of correlation. But we're going to find out shortly that Mount Seir has nothing to do with the Caucasus Mountains. And as a matter of fact, it's actually thousands of miles away from the Caucasus. And we're also going to find out that America is not Mount Seir neither. America is not the land of Edom. That is a false doctrine. So now that we know that Esau took his wives and his sons and his daughters and all of his people up there, now let's get into Mount Seir. Alrighty, so first off, I'd just like to apologize for how blurry this photo is. This is a photo from the land of Edom, Mount Seir area. As you can see, it's in Arabia in the hot desert. But one thing that the scripture makes clear is that the land of Edom, the Edomites' homeland, is right next to the Red Sea. It also makes it very clear that the land of Edom is near Egypt. Now we have two scriptures right here. We have Numbers chapter 21, verse 4, and they journeyed from Mount Hor by the way of the Red Sea to compass the land of Edom. So Edom is near the Red Sea. And we have another example right here. We have 1 Kings chapter 9, verse 26. And King Solomon made a navy of ships in Eslaber, which is beside Elath, on the shore of the Red Sea, in the land of Edom. So we know that the Red Sea is right next to the land of Edom. And we know that the Red Sea is not in America and it's not in Europe. Many people have tried to push that false doctrine to say that, the Red Sea's over there somewhere, but, that's a story for another day. So right off the bat, we know that it's close to Egypt and it's close to the Red Sea, which is Arabia. And we know that Hadad the Edomite, when I think it was King David's armies that were slaughtering the males of Edom, he fled into Egypt and actually ended up marrying an Egyptian, which actually goes back to what we talked about in the last episode about Esau taking black wives. And one thing I also want to point out is that there were no white people whatsoever in the Middle East until the Greek invasion. And there's no historical document showing that there was a European pale people even in Africa, even in the Middle East, until the Greek invasion. And that's where a lot of people go wrong and a lot of lies get taught, because a lot of people see, I think it's South Africa, there's a lot of white people who live there. And they teach that those white people who live in South Africa have been there for thousands of years, and that's who the ancient Egyptians were. But one thing that you realize in history is that those white people were not always there. They've only showed up in the past 100 to 200 years. They were like pilgrims who moved to Africa from Europe. Those people are of European descent and they do not belong in Africa. They were not always there. So when you see white Egyptians, they get that from the idea that these Europeans in Africa now are the same people who were there thousands of years ago.
Who in the world thinks that?
When in reality, the people that Hadad fled to hide amongst were other black people, which is something very interesting, because if Esau was the white man, why did Hadad choose to go hide among the Egyptians when the Israelites did the same thing? Because one thing that's really twisted about these One West camps is that they put in 110% when it comes to identifying the tribes. But when it comes to identifying the other nations, no matter it be white people, Europeans, or the Chinese, they half do it. They do a half job, and they do a very sloppy job. That's how you know it's a deliberate hate doctrine, because how come, they'll be breaking down Deuteronomy 28, going through the Apocrypha with Israel, but when it comes to our brother Esau, you want to do a half job. It doesn't make any sense that white people would go and hide among the Egyptians. So you use the instance in the scriptures of Israelites going to hide in Egypt so we couldn't get found to prove that we are the people of the book. But yet you won't use the example of Edomites going to hide among the Egyptians to prove that they're black as well. It doesn't make sense why a white person would go and hide among Hamites. It doesn't make any sense. But now we're going to move on and look at the Caucasus Mountains in a bit more detail, and then we're going to look at Obadiah and see where they go there to say that it's the Caucasus Mountains, or in some cases, America. Okay, here we have a photo of the Caucasus Mountains. This is a specific spot in the Caucasus Mountains where there's a cave city, and this is where many in the One West camps teach that Mount Seir is. Now, there's many problems with this doctrine where the Caucasus Mountains does not fit the locations that the Bible gives us where Mount Seir is located and what it is nearby. Now, I'm going to mention this real quick. There was a false doctrine that I heard many years ago that a guy taught online, which was that Moses teamed up with the Moabites, the Philistines, the Hittites, the Canaanites, and the Egyptians to help push and banish the Edomites to the Caucasus Mountains. and then they blocked the path with rocks so that they couldn't escape. Now, there's multiple problems with this doctrine.
All right, y'all, I'm going to end it right here. Just want to say thank you, Fenrar, for commenting. Of course, thank you, WWE Fan 21, for commenting as well. I really appreciate you, and I thank all of you who enjoyed the stream. Just remember to live every day in victory, and of course, you're in the victory music, victory fanfare. Till next time, dudes and dudettes.